when you're screaming out, but you can't make a sound, you know it's only a dream. When your back hits the ground and things turn around, you know it was only a dream. 'Cause nothing is as bad as you think, even when you're pulling at the seams. When the lights go out, you still got me. Oh, 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 oh. Detours lead to barricades, and home is for your friends are fake. I'll be there to clear the way. Oh, 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 oh. And you know my love can hold you down. You know my love can hold you down. And you know my love can hold you down. You know my love can hold you down. When the roof caves in and you just can't win, you know it'll only get better, only get better. When you fall too far, can't go back to the start, you know it'll only get better, only get better. Nothing is as bad as you think, even when you're pulling at the seams. When the lights go out, you still got me. Oh, 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 oh. Detours lead to barricades, and home is for your friends are fake. I'll be there to clear the way. Oh, 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 oh. And you know my love can hold you down. You know my love can hold you down. And you know my love can hold you down. You know my love can hold you down. I'm the storm that meets the moon. I'm the sun that will not move. Do you think you are? Who do you think you
Hello and welcome back to the RSCast. It's yet another Monday. A previous week of Rocket League has gone down with some more amazing play-ins and playoffs action in the rival and elite tiers. I'm joined yet again by Kingsman and by Butter. And guys, how do we feel? How can we sum up the action which we've seen this weekend?
How can I sum it up? For me at least, pain. What about you, Kingsman?
I mean, if we're going on how our franchise has performed, I think the same. But yeah, I think a lot of shocks, which is a good thing, really. A lot of teams proved us wrong, especially on the desk. And well, it'd be brilliant to go and recap and see what these teams have done.
And why don't we do just that? So we can take a look at, I believe, the rival play-ins bracket first of all. And but how about you tell us how the upper bracket here went down?
Well. Starting things off, we had Disorder versus Nightfall. We knew Disorder were coming into this as a hot streak team. But a 3-0? What was that expected? Well, if it was, then congrats to you. But a 3-0 sweep to start things off, that was a statement to make, especially for your opening series here in the play-ins, especially as a team, making that rise up from league play. But in your other series was going to be Yoruba versus Norns. Went to that game 5. It went all the way. But it was Yoruba to just clinch that one out in the final game of the matter. And Norns, unfortunately, did not find themselves to go through into the upper bracket. But obviously, Yoruba and Disorder, they were your two teams who went to the upper bracket. Then it would have been Norns and Nightfall who went into that lower bracket on that playoff championship day. But game 5 had a sweep, something you love to see. But we've got to go to the interesting lower bracket for you, Kingsman. Almost everyone game 5.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4 game 5 and 1 sweep. Let's start with Ash getting a 3-2 onto Onka. They subbed up Sharky for this game, and well, it paid off. They got a 3-2. I don't know how close it was, so I will not go on that. And then Mirage were able to win 3-2. Another game 5 for Ash, but they weren't able to clutch it out. And at the bottom, Uranum Sentinels, very close series all the way through. Uranum managed to edge it through, though. It was a very good series, though, from what I heard. And, well, I casted the next series, Ember Uranum. And, well, Uranum just walked through Ember. Ember made roster changes every single game. And there was not a roster that could compete with this Uranum side. They went 3-0. And your 2 to make it through from the play-in side were Mirage and Uranum.
Well, they were the teams to make it through to the playoffs. We see Erebos and Arena Tribe enter the bracket from the uppers, finishing in first place in league play. But why don't you start us off yet again with the upper bracket?
Well, to start things off, obviously I talked about Disorder. They got that sweep in the play-ins, but hey, nope, you are saying it correctly. They did a sweep again for the first series in the playoffs, and obviously, as you can see, it was onto a team that wasn't going to be easy, but 3-0 sweep onto Erebos to start their playoff run. Then in the other series, we had Arena Tribe versus Yoruba. It wasn't a 3-0 sweep, but it still was a big result. A 3-1 victory for Arena Tribe to start things off from Potter's team. Yoruba, they had a hard-fought game 5 from play-ins, but at least got a game in the upper bracket, going down into the lowest and in that upper final. As expected, and I think predicted across the whole desk, a game 5 is what we got. It was delivered, but it did just favour out into Disorder in this matter. And it was a Arena Tribe who unfortunately did drop into that lower bracket. But Disorder looking strong with first opening up with a sweep, then a game 5 victory. But heading over to the lowers, we see Nightfall start a little bit of a run.
Yeah, we did a very close game 5 with Mirage, and well, Nightfall, they proceed with a good 3-2. More pain for me begins as another VK team bumps out from being upper brackets as Uranum, good 3-1 onto Norns. They were on a bit of a run at this point, Uranum. Norns not having the greatest day, and well, they bump out. And then you had Nightfall continue the run, knocking out Yoruba. Yoruba getting that 3-2, but unable to find a win on playoff day as Nightfall send them home. And Erebos, they came down with a bit of a vengeance from the upper bracket. And they had a sweep onto a very, very successful Uranum side at this point. And at this point, either team could have gone through, but I believe this was almost a reverse sweep from Nightfall. It was Nightfall almost got it, but Erebos managing to hold on for the 3-2. And then I think everyone at this point expected a Disorder Arena Tribe final, except for Arc. I will say Arc did have Erebos winning this. And well, Arc was right. It's a 3-1 Erebos. Erebos shock everyone, knock Potter's team out. And well, talking about Potter, I'll hand over to him for the grand final.
And what a grand final it was. Erebos winning that third place matchup against Arena Tribe, making it up to the grand finals for a rematch up against Disorder. And it starts off harsh. It's an 8-0 victory to Disorder, followed up by a 3-2 win on Forbidden Temple and a full 3 win on Utopia Coliseum. Meaning that Disorder, if it was a best of 5, would have swept their opposition yet again, but it was not meant to be. Erebos take a timeout. They come back fighting. and reverse sweep their opposition to force a bracket reset on Champions Field with a 2.5 minute overtime on said Champions Field, where Galaxy steps up to force that bracket reset, meaning that the Disorder are pegged on the back foot yet again. Erebos come through fighting, they get the bracket reset, they get the momentum in what is arguably one of the most drama-filled RSC finals of potentially all time. Erebos come back, they take the 4-1 victory, and they take home the rival championship, and they also make their GM bold. And what a season it was. Avelios, a man to step up, especially in this playoffs, quoting him saying he's never played Rocket League like that ever in his life, and he probably won't ever play like that again. The real peak for Avelios, and again, this whole Erebos roster really come home and reap their rewards for their practice and for the competition they're playing on this day.
Yeah, just huge congratulations. As you can see, Galaxy, Slimy, Avelios, Lynx, and of course, your GM, Senji, Might of Hades, getting a tier win. Congratulations to all of those for winning that rival tier here in Season 11. You know, if any of them remain in rival next season, we'll see if they look to, you know, defend that title, defend that trophy. We shall find out. As you can see, Kingsman pointing out the jersey there. I assume you put it up there for their tier win. But what a playoffs. I mean, bracket reset, game 7 as well. I mean, that huge credits, you know, going 3-0 down, reverse sweeping after a timeout. That just really shows that you could, you know, in favor show how effective a tactical timeout can really be used here in a playoff situation.
Yeah, agreed. And
and we move ahead onto Elite. Might as well go and take a look at the play-in bracket yet again. Butter, if you want to start us off in the upper bracket.
Well, to start things off here in the play-ins for your elite tier, it was Anarchy versus Thanatos to start things off, and we got a game 5. Anarchy, they came out fighting, they came out with a bit of swinging, but it was Thanatos to take it in a game 5. You know, from the Glaciers conference, we expected Thanatos to be one of those teams that they will surprise you. You know, you may look at the roster and it may not be as, you know, talented as you think, but they proved some people wrong and they got that game 5 victory against Anarchy. In the other series, we had Fearless Bravo versus Megumin Colt. It was a 3-0 sweep, but the individual games, I believe, were all 1 goal difference from memory. At least, maybe most of the games were at least. It was a close series, but Bravo did take that one out in a sweep fashion. So we got a game 5 and a sweep there for the upper bracket for the play-ins. But heading over into those the lower bracket play-ins, Kingsman, we see the run start for one of these teams.
We do indeed. Zulu, they were first to be fallen by Profits. No longer drawing as it's a best of 5, but they did manage to end it in a 3-1. They found their form and, well, they managed to get a win. Anju, on the other hand, said no thanks, and they took them in a sweep. Absolutely ruthless from Anju, who, well, we'll talk a lot more about. Then Bladesmiths, they 3-1 Blaze, all very close games. And then I have to watch my own downfall, as I tried to play with a rival, not the best decision, and, well, Bladesmiths, they cruise through into the playoffs. So Anju and Bladesmiths make their way into playoffs. Oh.
Well, we'll go to the playoffs as you mentioned. Starting off in the upper bracket, we had a Resonant versus Thanatos. We had Resonant and Vanguards. Both of the teams were waiting for their first series, hence, you know, becoming first in league play. And normally, you know, first series, do they have to get the nerves? Do they have to get things out of the way? Nope. Both sides, they win their first series of the playoffs. Resonant getting a 3-1 victory onto Thanatos. Thanatos, they had a good fight, but it just wasn't enough to stay in the uppers. Then on the other side, we had Vanguard taking a 3-1 onto Fearless Bravo. Vanguard's starting off strong there as well. Thanatos and Bravo both got knocked down into that lower bracket on the day. Then going into that upper final, we had Resonant versus Vanguard. Could have gone either way, hence why it was a game 5, but it was Resonant to take this one out in the clinchest moments. Taking that game 5 victory onto Vanguard's. Resonant had that momentum, looking good on the day in the moment. Obviously, as you can see, it turned out like that. But going into that lower bracket, we saw a team, Kingsman, do some unexpected things that no one really predicted, but all credit to them.
I'll correct you there. I'll say we saw two teams do stuff we didn't expect. Andrew, first of all, but I believe got a reverse sweep onto Anarchy. Upper bracket team, everyone favoured them. Everyone was saying they were going to do it. Well, out they go. 3-2, Andrew move on, and well, Bladesmiths, their ruthless run began. They swept Megumin Colt, and they were absolutely feeling it. They also go and sweep Thanatos. Thanatos not able to get a win in the playoff days. And well, for a much hyped Fearless Bravo side, they went out to Andrew in a game 5. 3-2 Andrew. Andrew on an absolute roll at this point. And well, the play-ins teams knocked out 4 of the upper bracket teams at this point. Anarchy, Fearless, Megumin, Thanatos. All top 6, all top 3 in their conferences, all gone. But then the 2 titans of the lower bracket had to face each other, and Bladesmiths, they conquered a game 5. Another game 5 for Andrew, but they weren't able to clutch it out this time. And then Vanguard's Bladesmiths, apparently a very close series. I was talking to Cubby after the series, and he apparently missed an open net with 30 seconds left. I didn't watch the series, so if someone from the series is in chat, then they will have to confirm whether that's true or not. But Vanguard's managing to pull that series out. And well, grand finals. What a series it was. I honestly, I thought we were going to see a oh my god, deja vu of Rival. Resonant refacing Vanguard beating Bladesmiths. And well, Resonant take 3 games. They look comfortable. They kept, I think, Vanguard's out for 10 minutes. They didn't score for 10 minutes. 3-0 up. Vanguard's, they get 2 games back. And I think everyone's starting to think now, that can Vanguards do it? Nope, Resonant took a timeout. Resonant took a 4-2. Serenity gets his title as GM. He gets his trophy finally. And well, here you go. We'll see the team now. You've got, obviously, Serenity on here twice, GM and player, doing it. And then you've got RMD and Frank the Goat. 1-2-3, also known as Frankie Moon in that finals there. But congratulations to all of them, and well, very well done.
Very well done indeed. Credit to Serenity, RMD, Trax, and Frank the Goat once again for your victory in the Elite Tip. But again, onwards and upwards, and here we leave Rival and we leave Elite behind. We move ahead to Master and to Premier. So why don't we start with the prediction? It's going to be Kingsman for Master Play-ins.
I always do it first, and well, let's see what I got. Dogon Hades, I have it as a game 5 no matter what. It's 2 very strong sides going into playoff. Hades, they were second all the way through and slipped at the last few weeks. I can see them just beating out this Dogon side. Messias, very strong. They fumbled in the last week having to play sub-games, so I believe they can sweep Infinity, but I can see Infinity still getting a game or 2, but for my prediction points, I've put it as a sweep. And now Gladiators, I have to sweep Fearless. There's a bit of behind-the-scenes info I got beforehand, and a certain player will be missing from that Fearless roster. Maybe I'll let Buddha spoil it. There you go, he said in chat, they do not have Sibo. So you'll see Minty, Lutix, and Genzo line up for that roster. And honestly, I think Sibo does a lot in this team. And well, then I had Gladiators going on to beat Rias Legion 3-1. As strong as I see this Rias Legion side, I think Gladiators will just have a lot of momentum. And well, I just see them, they'll be able to push through. And then going down again, Severance 3-0 Inferno. Inferno have been very rocky in the last few weeks. They were second at one point. And well, they've slipped all the way down to 6, barely making it in past a Radiant team, in my opinion, who definitely should have got through. But Severance, Harvey's just a different level, and his teammates are just insane. And then Abyss Severance, I can see it's been a very close game 5. I saw Abyss played against Draugr in the last week. They're a team very full of momentum. They're very good at the start. I can see Severance almost getting a reverse sweep in this series, but I can still see Abyss holding out.
Well, some very solid predictions coming out from you, Kingsman. We'll take a look to my own. I've got Hades and Messiahs winning respectively 3-1 in the upper bracket before we head down to the lowers. I did change it on the sheet, but if it's already been locked in, then fair enough. But my new prediction was Gladiators win that after hearing news about SIBO. However, I can still somewhat see it being a close series and Fearless potentially taking it even without SIBO being there. So I'm happy to accept Fearless Alpha winning that one because Real Acid Legion will just win anyway and it doesn't really matter. Severance 3-1 over Inferno, and then Severance again, like Kingsman says, Harvey's just different and should be able to pull through that series. And Severance, Real Acid Legion, Messiahs and Hades shall make it through to the next round.
Solid. Going on to mine, we have starting up in the uppers, Hades and Messiahs to take it all the way. Hades in a 3-1 fashion, Messiahs with a 3-0 sweep. I think the games will be close though, Infinity. I think we're definitely on the desk, maybe, putting them in the shadows. So this is definitely a team that could that they're definitely the team to prove us wrong. But in the uppers, I've got Hades and Messiahs going through. Then in those play-ins, I put Gladiators through with a 3-1. And then on to that next series, I put Rias Legion with 3-1 themselves. Rias Legion is a very strong roster. I think it just comes down to if they perform on the day. If they do, arguably one of the top teams in the Master Tier. So I put Rias Legion to go through there from the play-ins. And then I've got Severance taking a 3-1 onto Inferno. Inferno, I think, they've got a solid roster, but I just don't think it's consistent enough to take down Severance. Hence, I've got Severance going through there. And then going to Game 5 against Abyss. This was tough to call because Abyss have shown some, pretty exciting results in league play, but they've also had weeks where it's just been a bit chalked. So for Severance, I put them to go through in that Game 5 fashion. And do we have Arch with us? Are you here?
I am here.
Well, I'll pass to you then.
I feel like I'm joining with bragging rights this week because I was the only one to predict Erebos and Resonant to do what they did this week, other than, well, I predicted them in the final Erebos, but didn't expect them to beat Disorder. However, looking at the sheet this week, it looks much, much harder. I think you'd agree with Master and Premier, guys.
For sure. It's always a great competition 100%. To predict. And Premier Master, it always goes either way.
Yeah, I was looking at Master, and I think any of 5 to 6 teams could win this one, and it's a very, very tough decision. I did do what Potter did on the sheet as well and tried to change my prediction quickly with Gladiators and Fearless, but it looks like Source's sheets do lock in, just to be certain. So I do have Gladiators now beating Fearless Alpha 3-1. They aren't winning that game with 2 minimum CMV players. So I did change the result from Fearless 3-1. And then I've got Rias Legion beating, which is now Gladiators, obviously, if I have got that prediction. I've got Rias Legion beating Gladiators 3-1. I do think the improvement of Skaze could mean that game could be a little bit closer, but I do see Rias Legion taking it, who have got a really, really good roster name-wise. I'm surprised that they have finished as low as they did. I expected them to be in the top 3 at least, and they finished 4th. In the next play-in, I've got Inferno 1, Severance 3. I just don't see enough on that Inferno roster to beat Severance. And although Severance have had a weird season, they've been draw merchants. They've also had to deal with Brun breaking his arm and trying to play through it. I do see Severance taking it, with Harvey being Player of the Week 2 of the last 3 weeks. And then in the next round, I've got them beating Abyss 3-1 as well to make playoffs on the Saturday. In the upper bracket, this one was really hard to call. Dogon have been a brilliant team this season in our conference, and I don't know how they do it. I know a little bit about Captain Quart, but I don't know enough about the rest of the roster, but they've been doing great things. And Hades are also a really good team. I do think, obviously, with this being a school night, it does depend on Jushu playing. He is 3 hours ahead of us. And if their sub plays Heinz Ketchup, their results aren't as great with him playing as they are Jushu. So it really does rely on Jushu playing this one. I have gone Hades to take it in Game 5. However, I could probably change my result if I see someone else playing on that roster. And then next up we have Messiahs 3, Infinity 0. I looked at the results, and I don't know how Infinity have done so well this season. I haven't really followed the roster. I've not really paid attention to it. They've just kind of gone through the season very, very quietly, and I just see Messiahs taking this one in a sweep purely because we predicted them as dark horses at the beginning of the season.
Looks exactly that. I mean, Infinity can easily come through, and all of us, like, we underestimated Messiahs at the start of the season, but them as a dark horse. Infinity could come into this playoffs as a dark horse and potentially cause some upsets. They've had a good season. They're a top team in the Master Division for a reason. Could potentially be because Charm, Ember and Mizuto have done a little bit of trolling and somehow finished below them, but they have to deal with the lower bracket. Now we move over to the playoffs, so Kingsman, take us away with your bracket.
I mean, already, it's what happens when I don't do enough research into my predictions, but you know what? That's enough about that. Draugr, Hades, I have it as a sweep. Draugr are an immaculate roster, in my opinion. They've been doing scrims ever since, and well, they've honestly, just from the scrim results and how well they're doing, especially with Crisp's playoffs experience, I reckon that they'll push through in a sweep against Hades. And as Ark said, it really depends on Jushu, that roster, I would say. Him playing is a massive part in that roster. And, well, no matter what, I can just see Draugr getting a 3-0. And then the other game, honestly, Phoenix Messiahs was a coin toss. Messiahs have been brilliant. Poe and Pizza have been amazing. And Sonny, as we know, more MV Success, has been an amazing person alongside them. This Phoenix roster has been very strong since the start. And, well, I genuinely think they can give them a very good game. I can see that going either way. But this time I have Phoenix taking it in a 3-2. And then down to lower bracket, I have Dogon sweeping Gladiators. As much as I see Gladiators going through with Jazz and Skaze, I just think Dogon, they made it second. They made second for a reason. I've had them sweeping that. And then Infinity, I gave them a 3-1 onto Abyss. Infinity, people have been saying they're a bit of an odd side to play against. They have a different playstyle. I think that will give them some sort of advantage against an Abyss team. And then Messiahs to beat out Dogon. Once again, Messiahs are just so strong. And then Hades to beat Infinity. Hades are strong as well. I mean, it makes for a brilliant lower semi-final in Messiahs Hades. Oh my god. Messiahs Hades, at least I'm not saying Messiahs, but I see that at game 5, but I see Messiahs being comfortable. Maybe they drop 1 or 2 games, so I have it in a 3-2. Then Phoenix Messiahs, a rematch. I wanted to put Messiahs on a 3-2 for this, but I think Phoenix will have more motivation to try and beat Draugr again in the grand finals. That they will genuinely just come out of this again on a game 5, and I think it'll be so heartbreaking for Messiahs. And then grand finals, Draugr for Phoenix. So I can see Phoenix getting some games. I can see Draugr taking a very early lead. Peachy Boy is a very strong character. He's improved so much this season. He's been brilliant. NW7's mentality is getting better and better. And well, Crisps has just been brilliant all season. The three of them, I predicted them as first as soon as I saw the bracket. They are such a good team, and I can see them going 2 or 3 up and dropping a few games, a bit like the Resonance series. But ultimately, I see them coming out on top as a 4-2.
Well, best of luck for that. Let's hope this isn't you being blinded by love yet again, like your elite predictions. But Draugr definitely in with a solid shout as we move over to my own predictions. I've got a similar sort of lineup as Kingsman, with that Draugr win over Hades. Phoenix out to beat out Messiahs in Game 5. I also think that series can go either way. I'm going to go back to a previous statement from Mark just to say, you know, there's 5 or 6 teams in here which can really do anything in Master. Anybody can beat anybody. The tier caliber is just that high. There's so much room for upsets, so many room for complete dominations, as well if one team turns up and the other one doesn't. But moving down to the lowest, we can see RSC Legion take down Dogon and Severance take down Infinity, both upper round teams getting knocked out instantly, getting first rounded by playing teams. Severance so to get slapped down by Hades 3-0, and Messiahs to take out RSC Legion. Moving up to the upper final, where we'll have Draugr take out Phoenix, sending them to the lower final, who will take on the winners of Messiahs and Hades. In this case, it is Messiahs 3-1. And Messiahs continuing that momentum with a rematch of the upper semi, beating out Phoenix 3-1, sending them to a grand final. I went for something interesting here. Droga sitting cold a little bit. We don't know how they're going to come in to this series. Messiahs 4-2, Messiahs 4-1, taking home the Master Championship.
Whew. Bracket reset predicted. Beautiful. It's what we love to
couldn't.
see. Well, moving over to mine. As you can see, there's no bracket reset. But starting it off, I've got Droga with a 3-1 onto Hades. I think, well, Droga a solid team. Assuming that they perform on the day and don't choke or fumble, this is what I've gone with. Messiahs, Game 5 versus Phoenix. I feel kind of disrespectful for Phoenix here. You know, I feel like they might be shadowed a bit from their league play. They've been so consistent, but hence why I've got them making that run. But a Game 5 is definitely what it's going to be. Then in the upper final, I've got Droga taking a Game 5. Now, just hearing a little bit of rumor on the street, I could be wrong here, as it's not my team. But apparently, for Droga, Messiah said that the team that they're mostly worried about, if I'm right, Kingsman, if it was anyone to beat them, I could be wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They 3-1 them towards the end, but definitely the team they're most afraid of. Yeah.
That's my reason for a Game 5 here. But I think with Droga's just talent and on the day performing, you know, Chris should probably level up that kind of confidence in the team. I think they'll edge out that Game 5, putting Droga to that grand final in the upper bracket. But going down into the lower bracket, we've got RSC Legion versus Dogon. As I said earlier, RSC Legion, a team that performs on the day. If they're showing it, they're going to be one of the best. So 3-1 onto Dogon is what I'm going to see. Infinity, I think they'll show us something that it's maybe something we've not seen. Severin's a good roster, but Infinity, there's a reason they finished that high in league play. I know some teams may see them as a bit of an off kind of team, but that could play in their favor. At the end of the day, players and teams have their own play style, and I think if Infinity can kind of utilize that, they could do something here. And I think it'll work in a Game 5 onto Severance, but it won't be enough for Hades. When you're playing a top talented roster, it's just going to be something there, and I think Hades will take that 3-1. But Infinity will get themselves one game before going home. And then Phoenix, RSC Legion. I know I've hyped up RSC Legion saying they could be one of the best on the day, but I think this is mainly just due to that they had to play Phoenix in the lower bracket. They got to play one of the best, one of the top teams in the tier. I think Phoenix taking it into 3-1, convert that momentum, 3-0 sweep onto Hades. I went for a bold one there, mostly for the points. I think I noticed some other results. I thought, you know what, let's go for the sweep, I believe. Then I put Phoenix in that game at 5 versus Messiahs. It could go either way, but I think Phoenix will make that grand final. If it's through uppers or lowers, I think Phoenix will get there. But either way, I put Droga to win it all in that grand final, Game 7. Just mostly off momentum from Phoenix is the only reason I gave it that Game 7. Otherwise, I'd probably go 4-2 or 4-1. But I don't see a reset here if we see Droga go from uppers. And I'll pass over to you, Arch, for your predictions.
Thank you very much. I see a lot of similar traits in some of the results between Kingsman and Buddha. But I am going to talk a little bit about some of the pre-made teams that we've seen this season and join Potter on the Messiah's bandwagon here. I will start from the top. I do have Phoenix winning it, but we start with Drogar and Hades. You've got to go Drogar here just from the results in league play. They did finish top. They finished with 49 wins, whereas Hades had 43. Similar results in the last 5, although Drogar have won 3, Hades have won 1 and drawn 3. I just see Drogar being the stronger team here. I would describe Drogar as the best master team for CMV, but at some point you're gonna be missing that CMV at some point of having that carry, like that 2K carry, like some teams have. It is a very well-rounded roster, although 2 of them have come up from Elite last season. So it's going to be a tough ask to do it all through playoffs, but I do have them in Game 5 here. Again, Phoenix, Messiahs. This is a really big game for me. It's a battle of 2 pre-mades. And before Kingsman, Buddha, you were on the RSCast this season. Me and Potter were doing these predictions in the power rankings, and these are 2 teams that cropped up. We did predict Messiahs to be the dark horse because we didn't know much about them, but we knew that Visionary got them as a pre-made. and also Phoenix came in as a pre-made, Icelandic pre-made, playing together in another league as well. So I think these are the big two in this playoffs just for that reason, and I see Phoenix taking it in Game 5. I was looking at ranks recently and previous results, and I did see Steb peaking at Premier level now. I think he's like 1927, something like that. So I just see that experience coming out here. In the lower bit, I've got Dogon beating Rias Legion 3-1. I really wanted to vote Rias here, but they've been underwhelming this season, like I said, for the roster that they've got. I did expect them to finish. I mean, we had them first, Potter, in the preseason rankings, and they finished 4th. And I think you've agreed it as well in private conversations with me that you expected them to be a little bit higher. Severance Infinity, I've got that as a 3-1. I think now Brun's arm is healed. I think he's got no pressure playing, and Harvey's, like I said, made Team of the Week twice in the last 3 weeks. So I think Severance could be a hot topic in playoffs. However, I do think they'll get taken down by Hades in the next round. I wanted to put them further, but league results don't justify that. They've been draw merchants all season. We go on to Dogon and Messiahs. I've got Messiahs taking this one 3-1. I did see in the chat as well that Dogon are making Blizzy sub. I don't know if there's any truth to that rumour, but if they are making him sub, then that means Flo comes in, I think, who's been best known in Rival and Elite. So that's a lot of pressure to come in on playoffs at short notice. In the lower semi, I've got Messiahs 3, Hades 1. Again, the pre-made just takes it here, and Hades might not even be here. Like I said, it depends on Jushu playing that really late night in the play-ins as well. In the upper final, I've got Phoenix beating out Drogar 3-2. Again, Drogar, really good side, brilliant for CMV, but I just think experience and higher CMVs work here. And in the lower final, I've got Messiahs beating Drogar 3-1 again. And then in the final, I think it's the battle of the pre-mades, to be honest. We discussed it in the power rankings. We thought Phoenix would be first or second in their conference, and we predicted Messiahs to be the dark horses in 6th place, and we have underestimated them. So I've got Phoenix taking it in 6.
Some very good predictions all round from us, I think. I think all of us, apart from maybe 2, have got different winners, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. But it's a very, very spread. Lots of potential for teams to cause upsets, for loads of people to come back in our little predictions race. But we move over one step up, one final last step up in that as well, to the playoffs in Premier and Kingsman. Tell us about your bracket.
I mean, before we start, I will just say, my boys Peachy and Jordan, NW7, they've both hit high CMVs now, and they're pre-made, so who knows? But the predictions are predictions. Premier, moving on. I'll be honest, I do not have the best knowledge of Premier. I was sat in a VC with one of the Prem GMs last night going through these predictions, so I have no thought behind them. I had AW3 3-1ing Shaman. AW3 been on a tear since they joined RSC, and well, I can see that continuing. Bola 3-0 Solace. Bola have just been absolutely brilliant this season. I don't think they've lost. Ark will correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think they've gone through league play unbeaten, so a massive sign for them. I can see Sanctuary 3-2. Yeah, I am correct. Okay, that's a good sign. Sanctuary 3-2 Wicked Sailors. Once again, no idea. I got told by Pesky it'd be a close series, so I'm going to trust him on that. And Nami Brigade 3-0 Panthera. I believe they lost in a tiebreaker to AW3. And Nami Brigade are brilliant. I will give them that. And I believe they will sweep Panthera here. And then moving on, Sanctuary 3-2 Solace. I believe Pesky told me he believed it was going to be a close game. And he thought it would be relatively close, but you could just see Sanctuary edging it out. And Shaman coming down from the upper bracket, I believe, will just be stronger than Nami, especially with the player change they have made at the last minute. And then lower semi-final, Shaman 3, Sanctuary 2. Once again, a very close game, but I can just see Shaman just taking it off of Sanctuary, stopping their lower bracket run. And AW3 Bola, this could literally be one of the best series of the playoffs. from every conference. Both sides have so much talent, but I honestly, since AW3 have joined, I don't think they've lost a series. Full stop in there to make back Resistance's run. I think they were really below thing. They think they've drawn one series and that's about it. I'm sure Pesky told me that at some point, so I can see them taking that in a game 5. And then lower final, I can just see Shaman continuing that lower bracket run, getting a 3-2 onto Bola. I think it'll be a very close series, but Shaman will just edge it. And then grand finals, game 7, I think AW3 will nudge it, stopping a bracket reset and being your Prem champions. Pesky told me it was definitely not biased. So, massive trust on him, and I'll pass over to Potter now.
So we may as well rebrand Kingston's predictions to Pesky's predictions, considering you've had absolutely no input on your own bracket whatsoever.
Yep.
But we can take a look at my own. AW3 beating out Shaman and Bullet Carry beating out Solis, both in Game 4 to advance through to the upper final. In the lower round 1, the Wicked Sailors will take down Sanctuary and Nami Brigade also to take down Panthera Esports. I'm not really sure how Nami Brigade are going to come out in this series. Obviously, we've made that roster change. No Foxy, no Charlie B coming into the playoffs. It's going to be Daiki, Morgan, and Icon, I believe, starting this series, as both Foxy and Charlie coming home from boot camp. So none of them are going to be available. We've had to make the roster change in order to be able to field a roster. But I'm really not sure how they're going to come out, and I think they can either crash out early or really make a run as they did in RSC 10. However, moving into the lower quarter, Nami Brigade to beat out Shaman in 5 and Solis to beat out the Wicked Sailors in 4, meaning the lower semi sets up Solis against Nami Brigade, and I think Solis will take that one 3-1. The experienced 2 winners on that roster from last season's Dust Sucker tribe as well, meaning that Solis advanced down to the lower final, who will play AW3 Esports after their loss to Bola Ikari in the upper final, meaning Solis face up against their old teammate Bola Ikari to beat it out 4-2 and take home the Premier Trophy and the huge prize pool that comes along with it.
Whew. No bracket reset. You know what? I agree with the champion there. I cannot fault you there. But on to mine to start things off. Shaman Esports versus AW3. I know they had a good run in league play. They are looking good. They are probably going to be a potential dark horse for the bracket. I do not know. But I've got Shaman going out on top here in a game 5. I think it's a good, talented, well-chemistrized new roster. Obviously, Smashy, Pluvo, and Stat. I just love the team. I like all the players on that roster, and I do truly root for them. So a game 5 I've got for them. Bottom Carry versus Solis. I think the games will be close, and I know Solis have, they've been putting out results in league play. They've been looking on good form, but I think Bottom Carry just that they've got that extra little bit of strength. I think they'll go out in a 3-0 sweep. But as always in Premier, the games are going to be close. It's not going to be a complete whitewash. But going into that upper final, I will have Bolo Carry taking a 3-1 onto Shaman Esports. I just think they'll be a bit too strong for Shaman. I think they'll go down to lower bracket with good momentum, good hope though, after coming off with a very hard-fought, tough defeat. But going into that lower bracket in the first round, I've got Wicked Sailors taking a 3-1 victory onto Sanctuary. Sanctuary, I said the wrong roster. I've just realised for Shaman. My brain is so small. Shaman's Haven, Pablo Bar, and Briquet. Okay, apologies there. That's the roster I meant for Shaman Esports. Now on to Smashy, Pluvo, and Stat onto Sanctuary. As much as I love the team, Wicked Sailors will take it out. They've been looking good. They're on good form. Koku and Jelly, just very talented players. A 3-1 victory there, moving on to a 3-1 onto Solis. Unfortunately for Solis, I just don't see them maybe performing as much on the day. It's a big sorry for me for the Swedes there. But into the other series, Panthera Esports versus Nami Brigade. I think this will be a game 5 all over, but I think Panthera will just edge this one out. As Potter mentioned, I believe you're coming into this with a different roster, I believe. So I'm just going to go on to the side that maybe that would be the reason they might not go through. Just kind of go for the prediction points at that point in that series. But after that, I think no matter what, AW3 Esports, that they're going to win that series no matter who they play. And I put a 3-1 especially onto Panthera. Then onto that lower semi-final, I have AW3 Esports making a run here. A game 5 onto Wicked Sailors. I was a bit kind of argumentative with myself on this one. I think it can go either way, but I had to respect the run that AW3 did in league play, so I gave them the edge here in a game 5 there. And then they go to game 5 again in the lower final, but it will be Shaman Esports to come out on top. We know how talented and how strong and consistent Haven is. I know he'll be performing on the day, and Pablo Barnbriquet will probably turn up with their experience as well. And I think they'll go to that grand final. But no matter what, if it's lowers or uppers, Bolo I carry, I have them taking that grand final in a 4-2 fashion from uppers. And I'll pass over to you, Arch.
Thank you very much. A tale of two sides of the season here. At the start of the season, I did have Bolo I carry, Nami Brigade, and Wicked Sailors as my three favourites for this competition. With Bolo I carry taking it. We now see Wicked Sailors losing Exeter and bringing in Jelly and Sorius throughout the season. I do think they've lost a little bit of their chemistry, and Bolo I carry did take them down 3-1 in week 6. So I think Wicked Sailors have lost a little bit of the spark that brought them into the preseason rankings so highly. You've then got to look at AW3 Esports taking over Vizu in week 3. Vizu were 2-6. AW3 Esports, only 2 losses in the league are those of Vizu. They have gone 18-2 since taking over, which is a feat upon itself. I think it's 3-4 nils and a 2-2 draw, or maybe a 3-1 win here and there. You've also got to look at the bubble tournaments that we've been hosting as well. The monthly tournament, AW3, we've put them as one of the top 2 seeds twice, and they've gone out of that tournament. They haven't really performed too well, whereas Shaman Esports won that competition in the very first monthly. So a lot can happen in this playoffs, and I'm just going to break it down a little bit more. Shaman Esports 2, AW3 3. Again, Shaman won the first monthly. AW3 have flopped out of 2 of them. I do think Shaman can take this on the day, and they are a really good side. Obviously, they've had coaching off Casper as well, who I'm in contact with sometimes. But I do see AW3 going 18-2 to be the strength here. They have shown up in league play, although not looked so convincing. I did watch them against the Master team who subbed up, and a very, very questionable series. We look at Bolo I carry 3, Solis 1. Again, a lot of finalists from last season, I think, here. I think Dansku was a finalist on Solis, maybe Zamberg as well. We've got Creamy on one side and Tempo H, who won it on the side of Ox last season. So this is going to be a tough game in the upper semi, but I see Bolo I carry winning it 3-1. I've got to back my boys. Wicked Sailors, I'm going to take it. This is a really tough game. Again, Wicked Sailors, I think they've lost a bit of the chemistry from the start of the season. It used to be an all-Spanish roster, I'm pretty sure, and they've lost that. And now they've brought 2 other people in Jelly and Sorius. So I do see them taking it 3-2, but I think Sanctuary could take it as well. I've got Nami Brigade 3, Panthera 1. I just see Nami being the stronger roster here, despite needing to make that roster change. And also, when I did these predictions, I wasn't too sure who was actually going to be playing. I didn't really speak with Potter prior to this. So I did know that they were cutting Charlie B, but I didn't exactly know that Icon was coming in. Next up, I've got Shaman taking down Nami 3-1. Again, confusion over the Nami roster and the strength of Shaman. I just think they'll be here for this one. Then I've got Solis taking down Wicked Sailors 3-1. In the lower semi, I've got Shaman taking out Solis 3-1. I just think they've got a bit of a stronger roster, but I do think Zamberg and Dansku can do damage on this Solis roster on the day. In the upper final, we've got AW3 2, Bola I Carry 3. I've said it all season, I said it from the start. Bola I Carry will win this competition. I'm not changing that so late into the season. Despite AW3 going 18-2, Bola I Carry have gone 24-4. So they've got a great record themselves. In the lower final, I've got AW3 just beating out Shaman again, 3-2. I didn't really want to change my result from the upper semi, so I've just stuck with it in the lower final. Didn't really pay too much thought to it, as I wanted to see a Bola I Carry AW3 final, just so that I can say to Pesky that I predicted Bola I Carry to be.
EU with no underscore on YouTube if you want to check out any past VODs or any content from previous seasons, and hopefully we'll have some more coming to you shortly. But that is all for today. That is all for this RSCast. We'll be back with you next Monday for the recap on Master and Premier. So good luck to all the teams competing, and we'll see you next Monday for more RSCast action.
If I see you again, then hell froze over. Try to tie the ends, it's a no-leaf clover. Try to make amends, but I don't need closure. I don't need a friend from the enemies closer. Love is like a drug to me, I'd rather be sober. Don't know why with all this fighting and my heart gets cold. But I can't let up on the gas, I need to keep my composure. I can't let it off, I don't wanna be in love, but I pretend it all. Had to play it smooth like I ain't afraid of falling, no. Yeah, I want it all. Yeah, I didn't want you to go. But I've been through this before. And I hope you burn slow. I better get it before it's gone.